a setback to the Mamata Banerjee-led West Bengal government, the Supreme Court stays the FIRs registered against officers of the Enforcement Directorate in connection with the raids on I-PAC. The court expresses concern over lawlessness. The ED seeks suspension of the Bengal DGP and Kolkata top cop. Controversy erupts during the Mumbai Civic polls. The Thackeray cousins allege pen markers have been used instead of the usual indelible ink, and the finger marks vanish with a sanitizer. They accuse the Election Commission of foul play. Air India intensifies its investigation into the 787 Dreamliner crash. India's aviation sector rattled as the Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau summons the nephew of the deceased Air India pilot in connection with the Flight 171 crash probe, triggering outrage from the pilot's body. The association terms the move harassment. More legal troubles for actor-politician Vijay's film Jananayagan. The Supreme Court refuses to intervene in the censor board row, pulls up the producers for rushing to the top court and directs them to go back to the Madras High Court. After warning of very strong action if Iran carried out any executions of protesters, US President Donald Trump says he has been told the killings in Iran have stopped. However, Trump has not ruled out military action against Iran, as reports suggest at least 2,400 protesters have been killed. NATO allies scramble troops to Greenland as tensions soar over Trump's threats to seize the Arctic island. Germany, Sweden, France and Norway joined Denmark in military drills, signaling a united front against US aggression. Another case of a federal agent shooting a civilian in the United States, this time in North Minneapolis. The incident sparks fierce protests in a city still reeling from the recent fatal shooting of Renee Nicole Good. And the US unleashes one of the most sweeping immigration crackdowns in recent history, freezing immigration visa processing indefinitely for citizens of 75 countries. On the list are Pakistan, Iran, Russia, Somalia and Afghanistan, among others, as the Trump administration moves to tighten its grip on who can enter the country. Hello and welcome to the Times of India. You're watching Headlines at 8 with me, Neha Khanna. Our top story. The Mamata Banerjee-led West Bengal government and the Kolkata police today suffered a major setback when the Supreme Court stayed the FIRs registered against officers of the Enforcement Directorate in connection with their raids on the political consultancy firm I-PAC. What's more, the Enforcement Directorate has sought suspension of Bengal's DGP Rajiv Kumar and Kolkata Police Commissioner Manoj Kumar Verma, among others, and also a CBI probe into the events of last week during the ED raids in Kolkata. The top court has sought replies from the Home Ministry, the Department of Personnel and Training, Mamata Banerjee and the Trinamool Congress government on the central agency's petition. The ruling comes amid a face-off between the Enforcement Directorate and the Mamata Banerjee government after the ED searched premises linked to I-PAC, which handles election campaigns for the Trinamool Congress. The ED says the raids were in connection with a corruption case. In another blow to Mamata Banerjee, the Supreme Court said, and I quote, "There are larger questions which emerge and, if not answered, shall lead to lawlessness. If central agencies are working bona fide to probe a serious offence, a question arises, can they be obstructed by party activities?" Earlier, the Supreme Court had said it was very much disturbed by the chaos in the Calcutta High Court during a hearing related to this case. The Enforcement Directorate has accused Mamata Banerjee and West Bengal officials of interfering with its investigation and searches at the offices of I-PAC. In fact, the lawyer accused Mamata of theft, adding this is mobocracy. Banerjee's lawyer questioned the need for the ED to go to Bengal ahead of the assembly polls. He argued election data is confidential. There will be a lot of information on candidates. Once you have the information, how do we fight the election?
And state the criminal cases initiated by on the basis of the complaint initiated by the Calcutta police, that has been stayed, and nothing is no more thing is there. Importantly, 2 or 3 observations are there. That one of the important observation in this matter by this Honorable Supreme Court, that when the election is forthcoming, then the interference by the ED to the political parties' affairs is also an important issue to decide. There are so many things to be decided, but this is also an important issue that has to be decided. Matter has been directed to appear on 3rd February.
So the court has also said that it will be difficult for central agencies to work under such circumstances if the state.
That is an observation. That is an The question is this. Question is, listen, it's a of course broader question. If you say so, the question is, whenever in a non-BJP state, central agency will interfere with the political party just before election, that is also not good. Correct? Similarly, if the central agency works and the state agency interferes, that is also not good. So maintaining this cooperative federalism is not the duty only of the state, it is also duty of the central government. Right? There were two parties there. You have to accept the two part. Every time, whenever in non-BJP state, before the election, see, here is what they have said. They have said court scam case, correct. We don't have anything to say. 2,700, we have nothing to. They have given the list of dates. Last evidence which has been taken by in the statement is 21st February 2024. Thereafter he was sleeping altogether. Now when the election is forthcoming, then he was jumping upon. ED is jumping upon. That is also the question now. And it has also been said that if it is a property of the political party, then it should not be touched or other expression, whatever it may be.
Maharashtra held its local body polls today, and a major controversy erupted in Mumbai over the use of marker pens instead of indelible ink to mark voters' fingers. The opposition has alleged that the move could enable electoral fraud. Objecting to the use of marker pens, MNS chief Raj Thackeray said, and I quote, "Now they are using marker pens instead of ink. This is unacceptable. Such fraud elections are of no use. I appeal to citizens to stay alert." Thackeray questioned the election process and accused the government of manipulating systems to win elections. He added, "I want to bring to your notice how the system is being implemented by the government. They want to win elections at any cost. They will do anything for that." The issue was first flagged by MNS candidate Urmila Tambe from Kalyan, who alleged that the State Election Commission was deliberately using marker pens instead of indelible ink to help the ruling party. Following this, some journalists conducted a fact check showing that the mark on the finger actually vanished after applying acetone. Shiv Sena UBT chief Uddhav Thackeray also raised questions over the election process and the alleged removal of ink from voters' fingers. He said, "Since this morning, I've been getting calls from all over Maharashtra that there are many problems in the voting process. Ink which is applied to the finger is getting easily removed." Training his guns on the Election Commission, Thackeray added, "For what work is the Election Commission taking money? Political workers should sit in the EC office to see what work they're doing. There is no accountability." Reacting to the remarks of the Thackeray cousins, Maharashtra Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis said, "I have also been marked with a marker. Is it erasing? The Election Commission should look into this issue and use something else. They can use oil paint if they want. The elections should be impartial, but creating a ruckus over everything and raising questions is wrong." The BMC, Mumbai Civic Agency, rejected reports that the ink marks on voters' fingers were being wiped off. The Election Commission has clarified that if a person is found to have erased the ink from their finger and attempted to vote again, appropriate legal action will be taken against them. The poll body maintained that marker pens have traditionally been used in local body elections to mark voters' fingers after voting. The civic polls in Mumbai are being seen as a high-stakes battle for all the players in the fray. The Thackeray cousins, who parted ways in 2005, formed an alliance last month for the BMC polls, aiming to control Asia's richest civic body. The cousins have placed the cause of the Marathi Manus, or Marathi pride, at the centre of their campaign. The BMC's annual budget is over 74,000 crore. 1,700 candidates are vying for 227 seats in these elections. The last elections for Mumbai were held in February 2017. Their 5-year term ended in 2022, but the elections were repeatedly postponed due to the OBC reservation controversy and ward delimitation issues. For the past 4 years, the BMC was run by government-appointed administrators. The votes will be counted on the 16th of January. There is no end to the legal troubles for actor-politician Vijay's film, Jananayagan. In a major setback, the Supreme Court has junked the producer's plea and asked them to go to the Madras High Court after they pressed for an expeditious hearing. Jananayagan, which was scheduled for a 9th January release, is awaiting its clearance certificate from the censor board. The top court today asked the Madras High Court to decide the appeal regarding the film on the 20th of January. The top court, in fact, slammed the producers for rushing there with their petition. The court also junked the producers' plea seeking censor clearance for the film. Jananayagan is believed to be Vijay's swan song before he enters politics full-time. Senior advocate Mukul Rohtagi, who was appearing for Jananayagan producers, told the court, "I had fixed 9th January as a release date. I had 5,000 theatres in India. I was told I will get a certificate with 10 cuts." To this, the Supreme Court said a quashed order cannot be challenged. The bench told the lawyer, "This is a blistering pace, Mr. Rohtagi. When the matter is fixed before the division bench for the 20th of January, you don't challenge that order which is quashed. Go back to the division bench." Earlier, the Madras High Court had stayed the single-judge order directing the censor board to grant a UA certificate to the Vijay starrer and posted the case for hearing on the 21st of January after the Pongal holidays. Big international news now. Such is the fear of Donald Trump ordering annexation of Greenland that panicked European countries have decided to take things into their own hands. Several NATO countries are deploying small numbers of military personnel to Greenland to participate in joint military exercises with Denmark. The US President Donald Trump, ramping up his threats to forcibly annex the Arctic island, has thrown Europe's decades-old US-led security alliance into crisis. It has raised the spectre of NATO's largest and most powerful member annexing the territory of another. Denmark, which is responsible for Greenland's defense, has warned that an attack on Greenland would mean the end of NATO. Denmark has now announced that it's expanding its military presence in close cooperation with NATO allies. Germany, Sweden, France and Norway have all confirmed they are sending military personnel to Greenland this week. Canada and France have also said they plan to open consulates in Nuuk, Greenland's capital, in the coming weeks. French President Emmanuel Macron has said France will participate in Operation Arctic Endurance. He wrote on X, "The first French military units are already on their way, others will follow." Remember, the US has about 150 troops stationed at the Pitufik Space Base in northwestern Greenland. The timing and symbolism of the latest announcements by European nations are a significant show of solidarity at a time of unprecedented tensions within NATO. The North Atlantic Treaty Organization is a long-standing military alliance between 30 European states and the United States as well as Canada. It's built on the principle that an attack on any one member must be considered an attack on them all, which is what makes US threats against Greenland so extraordinary. Greenland is part of NATO by its association with Denmark. Trump has been extremely vocal about his ambitions to seize control of the world's largest island, including by force, if necessary, saying he's going to do something on Greenland, whether they like it or not. In fact, on Wednesday, Trump wrote, "NATO becomes far more formidable and effective with Greenland in the hands of the United States."
Greenland is no longer just ice and isolation. It is becoming a military front line. France has become the latest country to confirm a military deployment to Greenland. This after French President Emmanuel Macron called an emergency defense cabinet meeting to discuss US President Donald Trump's stance on Danish territory.
This is a strong political signal. People were saying Europe was taking its time, but that's not quite true. So this Arctic endurance operation has been underway since yesterday. Military forces from various countries, at the request of Denmark, Sweden, Norway, Germany and France, are currently en route, and some of them are already positioned in Greenland, specifically in Nuuk. And so this is a first exercise.
How much for French?
Which shows the determination within NATO, by the way.
How many French soldiers do you have?
There are about 15 soldiers, but the entire operation will be, these are not soldiers, it's preparation for an exercise. So we are currently with, notably, I think, high mountain specialists. The president is also meeting this morning very quickly at Defense Council, and he will have the opportunity to speak on this subject in his wishes to the armed forces this noon in Istres. We will show the United States that NATO is present, that Denmark has tremendously increased in terms of resources and funding its surveillance capabilities of Greenland, and that furthermore the European Union provides support and European countries are mobilizing within NATO to ensure the national security of the entire region and therefore also for the United States.
This comes after Denmark on Wednesday announced it is sending more troops, aircraft and naval vessels to Greenland, an extraordinary move that underscores how fast tensions are rising in the Arctic. The deployment will include forces from NATO allies as Copenhagen moves to reinforce its grip on the vast island, now squarely in Washington's strategic sights. Meanwhile, Germany, Norway and Sweden have also stepped in. Stockholm confirmed it is dispatching military officers to Greenland at Denmark's request, marking a rare show of Nordic coordination far north of Europe. Danish Defense Minister Troels Lund Poulsen said several Allied forces could arrive within hours, with more expected in the coming days. Additionally, Canada and France say they plan to open consulates in Greenland's capital Nuuk in the coming weeks. However, Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk has refused to send troops to Greenland, despite the new European mission to strengthen security of the Arctic. Poland is currently invested in strengthening its defense against Russia on the eastern flank amid the war in Ukraine. The buildup comes amid mounting unease among UE leaders over US President Donald Trump's repeated insistence that Greenland should fall under American control. Trump has argued that the island is critical to US security and must be protected from growing Russian and Chinese influence in the Arctic.
Mr. President, on NATO, right now it sounds like you are saying that you would potentially acquire Greenland by force. That would be a NATO country. The United. Are you saying that? Would you do that?
No, you're saying that.
Would you
I
acquire
didn't
it by
say it.
force
No,
right
you're
now?
telling me that that's what I'm going to do. You don't know what I'm going to do.
So what are the options?
Your
then?
network
Because
doesn't know either.
The Danish foreign minister said that there's still fundamental differences after the meeting with Rubio and with the vice president. Are you willing to leave the NATO alliance in order to get what you want with Greenland? What are the options right now?
Well, I wouldn't be telling you what I'm willing to do, certainly. I'm not going to give up options, but it's very important. Greenland's very important for the national security, including of Denmark. And the problem is, there's not a thing that Denmark can do about it if Russia or China wants to occupy Greenland. But there's everything we can do. You found that out last week with Venezuela. There's everything we can do about things such as that. Not going to happen. We're not, I can't rely on Denmark being able to fend themselves off. They were talking about they put an extra dog, and they were serious about this. They put an extra dog sled there last month. They added a second dog sled. That's not going to do the trick.
Denmark fought alongside the United States in both Afghanistan
Thank you
and
for telling me
Iraq.
that. I appreciate it.
But
I have a very good relationship
they're
with
an
Denmark,
ally
and we'll see how it all works out. I think something will work out. Yep.
While Danish officials have downplayed the risk of direct confrontation, the actions on the ground tell a different story. Asked about the possibility of a U.S. military offensive, Poulsen called it a very hypothetical scenario and stressed that he does not believe one NATO country would attack another. Still, Denmark's decision to reinforce Greenland signals that hypothetical risks are being taken seriously. Greenland sits astride critical Arctic shipping routes, airspace, and early warning systems. As global competition in the polar region intensifies, control and presence matter, and Denmark, with the EU on its side, is moving fast to show it is not standing alone.
A fiery clash erupted in the US Senate as Indian-American obstetrician-gynecologist Dr. Nisha Verma repeatedly declined to give a straight yes or no answer to Senator Josh Hawley's question, "Can men get pregnant?" The confrontation unfolded during a Senate hearing on abortion drugs, with Hawley accusing Verma of dodging basic biological facts, while Verma argued that such questions were being used as political tools rather than scientific inquiry. As Hawley pressed harder, insisting that the issue was about biological reality, Verma cited the complexity of gender identity and patient experiences, refusing to offer a direct response. Hawley shot back, saying it's extraordinary that an expert witness cannot acknowledge that women get pregnant, not men. He accused her of holding a corrosive position towards science and public trust, turning the hearing into a high-voltage ideological showdown.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Since you bring it up, why don't we just start there? Dr. Verma, I wasn't sure I understood your answer to Senator Moody a moment ago. Do you think that men can get pregnant?
I hesitated there because I wasn't sure where the conversation was going or what the goal was. I mean, I do take care of patients with different identities. I take care of many women. I take care of people with different identities. And so that's where I paused. I think, yeah, I wasn't sure where you were going with that.
Well, the goal is just the truth. So can men get pregnant?
Again, the reason I paused there is I'm not really sure what the goal of the question is.
The goal is just to establish a biological reality. You just said a moment ago that science and evidence should control, not politics.
Absolutely.
So let's just test that proposition. Can men get pregnant?
I take care of people with many identities, but
can men get pregnant?
There are many women that can get pregnant. I do take care of people that don't identify as women. That
Can men get pregnant?
Again, as I'm saying,
Let me just remind you what you testified to a moment ago. Science and evidence should control, not politics. So can men get pregnant? You're a doctor, I think.
Science and evidence should guide medicine.
Do science and evidence tell us that men can get pregnant? Biological men, can they get pregnant?
I also think yes/no questions like this are a political tool. And
no, yes/no questions are about the truth, doctor. Let's not make a mockery of this proceeding. This is about science and evidence, and I'm asking you. You know, the United States Supreme Court just heard arguments yesterday at great length on this question. This is not a hypothetical question. This is not theoretical. It affects real people in their real lives. And you're here as an expert, called by the other side as an expert, and you've been telling us that you follow, right, you're a doctor, and you follow the science and the evidence. So I just want to know, based on the science, can men get pregnant? That's a yes or no question. It really is, I think.
I think you're trying to reduce the complexity of a lot.
I'm not. I'm trying to get, it's not complex. I'm trying to get to an answer, and I'm trying to test, frankly, your veracity as a medical professional and as a scientist. Can men get pregnant?
I think you're also conflating male and female with...
No, I'm not conflating male and female. They're two different things. There's biological men and there's biological women. And I want to know, can men get pregnant?
What you were talking about is biological...
You're not going to answer my question.
Biological males.
This isn't hard, doctor. Can men get pregnant? Yes or no?
Again, I would be more than happy to have a conversation with you that is not coming from a place of trying to be polarized and push.
I'm not trying to be polarizing. I'm trying to ask, I think it is extraordinary that we are here in a hearing about science and about women. And for the record, it's women who get pregnant, not men. We are here about the safety of women and science that shows that this abortion drug causes adverse health events in 11% of cases. That's 22 times greater than the FDA label, another fact you haven't acknowledged, and yet you won't even acknowledge the basic reality that biological men don't get pregnant. There's a difference between biological men and biological women. I don't know how we can take you seriously and your claims to be a person of science if you won't level with this on this basic issue. I thought we were past all of this, frankly. I can't believe we're still here talking about this.
After warning of very strong action if Iran carried out any executions of protesters, US President Donald Trump now says he has been told the killing in Iran has stopped. However, Trump has not ruled out military action against Iran over its violent crackdown on anti-government protesters. According to a US-based rights group, at least 2,400 demonstrators have been killed since the start of Iran's crackdown. There is persisting concern about a possible attack by the United States on Iran as President Trump continues to weigh a range of potential actions in response to Iran's deadly crackdown on protesters. Some personnel at the largest US military base in the Middle East have been urged to leave, and more countries are urging their citizens to get out of Iran. Some airlines are rerouting flights to avoid Iranian airspace. The warnings come despite Trump saying he's been informed that Iran has no plan for executions and that his administration will watch and see before taking military action off the table. Trump's comments came in response to fears for the fate of detained protester Irfan Soltani, who was sentenced to death after his detention last week. A family member and a Norway-based human rights organization have said that his scheduled execution did not take place on Wednesday. And in fact, the Iranian authorities are now claiming that Soltani was never sentenced to death. As we said, Trump has not ruled out military action, and his national security team has been split on whether to move forward with kinetic strikes. The head of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps has vowed to respond to the United States and Israel, which it accuses of being involved in the ongoing unrest in the country. Iran closed its airspace for around 5 hours on Wednesday night, and a growing number of nations have urged their citizens to leave Iran due to the heightened tensions.
We have been informed by very important sources on the other side, and they've said the killing has stopped and the executions won't take place. There was supposed to be a lot of executions today, and that the executions won't take place. And we're going to find out. I mean, I'll find out after this. You'll find out. But we've been told on good authority, and I hope it's true.
U.S. President Donald Trump said Wednesday that killings linked to Iran's nationwide crackdown were subsiding. He claimed there was no plan for mass executions of protesters, citing information received by his administration. But Trump stopped short of ruling out military action, even as analysts warned that U.S. intervention could trigger a wider conflict.
Mr. President, on Iran, you said that the killing has stopped. Who told you that the killings have stopped there? And if it's the Iranian regime?
We have been informed by very important sources on the other side, and they've said the killing has stopped and the executions won't take place. There was supposed to be a lot of executions today, and that the executions won't take place. And we're going to find out. I mean, I'll find out after this. You'll find out. But we've been told on good authority, and I hope it's true. Who knows, right? Who knows?
We've seen the body bags, so how do you trust them?
No, you've seen that over the last few days, and they said people were shooting at them with guns, and they were shooting back, and you know, it's one of those things. But they told me that there'll be no executions, and so I hope that's true.
Does this mean military action is now off the table against Iran?
Well, we're going to watch it and see what the process is, but we were given a very good statement by people that are aware of what's going on.
Is that still considering military action?
When they say no executions, everyone is talking about a lot of executions were taking place today. We were just told no executions. I hope that's true. That's a big thing, yes.
The remarks came amid growing concern in the Middle East that American strikes on Iran remain a real possibility. In contrast, U.S. Ambassador to Israel Mike Huckabee said Washington currently has no plans to intervene militarily.
I don't think it's something the United States is actively engaged in trying to hasten anything. It's a matter of respect, and this is how President Trump has framed it. He certainly wants there to be recognition that the government of Iran should not murder its own people, should not injure them and hurt them because they're protesting. They have a right to protest, and they're protesting about legitimate things. I don't think that right now the U.S. or Israel is making plans to engage. I don't know what may happen. I simply don't know. I would be totally out of my league if I said, here's what will happen. We don't know. But I'm not hearing anything at this point where America is preparing to engage militarily. If they change their mind, I'm sure they'll tell us all. But right now, it's really a matter of watching what is an organic movement coming up from very, very disgruntled, rightfully so, Iranian people who have decided that they can't keep going on like this.
Iranian officials directly contradicted Trump's claims, signaling that fast-track trials and executions remain imminent. Tehran also warned it would retaliate if the United States or Israel intervened in what it calls domestic unrest. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi attempted to lower tensions, urging Washington to pursue negotiation rather than force.
And is currently considering taking some form of action to support the protesters on the ground. If you have a message you'd like to convey to him, what exactly would that message be?
My message is do not repeat the same mistake that you did in June. You know, if you try a failed experience, you will always get the same result. And determination also cannot be bombed. Now, Iran has proved to be ready for negotiation, for diplomacy. We have proved that in the past 20 years, in 2015, and will be again in 2025, every single time. But it was the US who always escaped from diplomacy, who cut the diplomacy short and opted for war.
Meanwhile, Iran abruptly shut its airspace to commercial flights for several hours without explanation. Tehran temporarily closed its airspace for more than 2 hours, allowing only limited international flights with special clearance, according to flight tracking data. The protests now represent the gravest challenge to Iran's clerical leadership since the 1979 Islamic Revolution. Officials say more than 2,000 people have died, while rights groups believe the true toll is far higher. With airspace closures, threats of retaliation, and conflicting U.S. signals, the region remains dangerously close to escalation.
That's all the time we have on this edition of Headlines at 8. Thanks so much for watching. Do join us again at the same time tomorrow. Bye for now.